Welcome to another episode of the Operating System Show. I'm your host, Matt Dixon, and I have a lot of experience in the tech industry and a lot around operations. And this focuses on both the good and bad things that we try that work and that don't, where we win and where we learn around operations and business and how we can help other companies scale. My guest today is Ted Wolf. He's the co-founder and CEO of GuideWise. And Ted got his start in IBM in the 1970s, which means he's seen probably every technological advance ever known to man. Maybe not, but it's great. It's a great track record. And then he built an IT services company up to 650 people and sold it to Iron Mountain in 2018. And now he's published a book, and he runs GuideWise, helping founders put agentic AI into that machinery without the hype. So Ted, did I get it all right? I know I can't fit everything in there.
You got it all right, and that's a great start anyway. Thank you very much, Matt, and I'm very, very much looking forward to our conversation.
Excellent. So growing a company to 650 people, what did that look like for you?
Scary, petrifying, both the growth and the reduction with the scale back, I'll call it, the reverse scale. My brother and I both work for IBM. We were specifically addressing mid-market companies, and we saw they had an awful lot of problems. So what we did is we said we wanted to start our own business and do a technical consulting and a staff augmentation business, because we thought in the future right there, and I think we were pretty accurate, people were going to be the key, programmers and getting everything done that the business needed from an operational standpoint. So put $1,000 together between the two of us, started knocking on doors. 18 years later, we had 650 billing individuals across the United States, probably had another 100 people overlaid on top of that with recruiters, headhunters, salespeople, admin, et cetera. And we were acquired, but it was very scary in the beginning because we didn't know how to hire, fire, manage, guide, direct a business, because we never did it. So we were on the job training, and we went through, I think, 4 recessions. And I would not wish that on anybody, because it really can decimate your business and you just rebuild it. So it was scary on the way up because there's so much uncertainty and so many things you have pledged that you'll deliver to people. But on the way down, it's just as scary because you don't know where it's going to stop. And, if anybody's traded stocks, they call that catching falling knives when your business is going down, and you get a little bloody when that happens. But overall, great experience. I think having your own business or being a business owner or a senior manager or leader in a business, it's the greatest personal development school on the planet. No two ways about it. You learn everything about yourself.
Yeah, personal development, that's something that's a constant for everyone who's trying to grow anything, whether it's raising a family or building a business or even advancing your career. So what are some tips you would have for the younger crowd out there that's going through this right now?
What I would say to them, and I say this to my children, you have the greatest opportunities you could ever imagine in front of you. You have so many things going in your favor. You've got momentum. You've got now sophisticated technology, which we did not have when we started our business. You've got so much more wealth around that we didn't have in those days, where businesses can do a lot of CapEx in the, expenditures, and they can do all kinds of things. But I would say to them, you have great opportunities, but learn all you can about technology, about how a business runs, and how you run as a person. Those 3 things you've got to put in place. Because if you're going to put in AI today, even, you got to know and have it grounded on a business objective that impacts the bottom line. And that's not writing better emails or creating better PowerPoints for you or doing research for you. Second thing, got to make sure you got the right technology put in place. Third thing, got to make sure your people adopt the technology or the change, whatever it is, and actually use it and implement it. And that's not usually the case of what happens, but those are the 3 areas you got to focus on. If you do that, you're going to have a great career.
Excellent. You mentioned tech adoption. So when you have a new system, how do you roll it out to your team and get that buy-in and get that adoption? Because most people don't like change.
Yeah. Yeah. Most people don't like change. They don't know how to process change. And we've never had this fierce pace and depth of change in our lives, both in work, or I should say in three areas: work, personal life, and health. So we're all running at a pretty fast pace right now. So change can be scary. And after a while, what happens to change if you're not processing that change so you can be resilient and agile inside yourself? You're going to burn out. And when you burn out, you burn from the inside out, which means you just don't have the energy, the drive, the ability to dream and like just go after the dream and put everything into it, or your career. So what I think they need to do when you implement a change management project, you have to over communicate. You have to talk about the metrics, the reason why the business or why we're making this change. You've got to be able to say, this is what it means to you. Here's what it's going to look like down the road. This is what our projection is, but we're all in this together. But how you get started, I found, start small, get a use case, define the use case really well. And it's not writing better emails. It's something that's going to hit and address a business objective that's going to impact the bottom line. Keep it simple, keep it small, build your team of people that you know are going to be enthusiasts. So we're going to actually embrace the change you're talking about because they'll give it positive press within the business, no matter how big or small you are. And then from there, it just grows and you get your beach landing. It works. You're successful. It's up and running on that use case. Now you move to the second one, the third one, etc. After a while, though, you will hit that law of diminishing returns, and you're going to have to rebrand the effort that you're doing. And you're going to have to just commit to more education. And that means teaching people how to embrace change, but also teaching them how to use the new technology, if it's technology. And AI is going to make everything look simple up to this point. At least that's my experience starting back in the 70s.
Yeah. So is that how you approach stuff with your GuideWise company? You start small and just incrementally improve?
Yeah. I mean, it's really nice to go in and say, hey, you sell $100,000 or $1 million project. But any business that does that without knowing what a return is or whatever, they're really going out way ahead of their skis on that risk profile. And the one thing you don't want to do is put a lot of risk on the table. We're in a position right now where everybody's got to start learning and paying attention to AI. It's not going to go away. It just isn't going to go away. We've already crossed that path. So we have to be able to sit back now and say, how do we make that work for us? How do we get our people working for it? And how do we improve it in the business itself? What we need to be able to do is we need to be able to go in and get that use case and lower the risk. We always go in small, asking people like, hey, here's how you put your toe in the water. Okay, once that's in, now here's how we move to the next step. And we increase I'm going to say the sophistication and complexity. But what we're finding is as we increase the AI exposure and implementation into a business, it actually makes the business a lot simpler, not more complex. And that's just the opposite of what most people think. Business actually becomes simpler because if it's done properly and installed properly, implemented, you're going to really reduce the number of fires that erupt in a day. We have a saying in our business in GuideWise that we like to use, and we say, we help businesses and people finish what they start. Think about what a business has objectives out there. They've got 5 objectives they want to accomplish this year, and they think, gee, it's only 5. I think that's too many sometimes. But at the end of the year, you ask them, well, how many did you actually finish? Well, we got through 2 of them, but they weren't even 100% complete. So 3 of them weren't complete. Okay. So we're here to help you finish what you start. And the way we do it is we come in, we start implementing the systems, and people start seeing that those fires go away. And what I mean by the fire is we all have let's say a to-do list we go into work with in the morning. I've got these 5 things I want to get done today. At the end of the day, you look at them and say, I didn't get any of them done because all these fires came up and I had to pay attention to them. So those fires take your time away. They distract you and they take your focus away. If you bring in AI and you implement it properly in that human agentic workforce concept, I'll say, all of a sudden those fires go away. People have more free time. What are they going to do with the free time? We're going to teach them how to critically think about things. We're going to teach them how to solve problems, identify a problem. The tools are there. We just have to institute the behaviors, the rituals, and things like that to put that in place. If we can start that way, start small, make sure you're going through things and tracking the fires and how they're going down. People are freeing up their time. Now we get them adjusted to that next level of thinking, feeling, and acting within the business. And all of a sudden, I am making and creating a much more intelligent business. And if I do it accurately, an intelligent business actually compounds its intelligence over time. Way different than the normal, I like to call it an analog style of business from the past.
Yeah. So it sounds like we're in alignment, because I've said we need to get our best people to get out of the mundane stuff that they don't like to do anyway and help them focus on their superpowers. Is that what you're essentially saying?
Yes.
And then you've also mentioned that AI pilots have like a 95% fail rate.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that is? Or what information do you have that supports that?
Well, I think you can take a look around. I think the MIT study came out and it was said 95% failed because they weren't properly rooted in business impact, business objective impact. If you go back in the literature and do the research, and it goes back to McKinsey, it goes back to Boston Consulting Group, MIT, a number of them, they said any change management effort you put in place, you got about a 30% success rate. Let's use ERP as an example. Company wants to implement an ERP system. On average, 30% of them get implemented. 20% get somewhat implemented, and the rest just fail. They don't work. They might use them as glorified financial systems now, but not the ERP system that they were meant to be. So to me, that evidence says we're doing something wrong and we're attaching, or I should say, we're addressing the wrong problem. So we went out to all the frontline middle management people and we started training them in change management, but we didn't get to the personal level, their beliefs, their opinions about things, the meanings they're assigning to things. That whole context got cloudy, and that's why they go wrong, because management's not leading them, and senior management are not leading the people through the change process properly within an organization. That will hurt your technology. But the beauty of AI is it's not just a technology. It goes way beyond that, in my opinion. It's a whole different way of looking at the business.
Yeah. Well, and then you also said something previously that your business actually simplifies once you get rid of all the firefighting.
Mm-hmm.
What's a situation where you've seen that happen? Do you have an example of that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I go into a lot of organizations and they have heroics. That's how they get through their month. And that means someone says, hey, my place here and my value is I'm the fix-it guy. I get everything done. I'll fix any problem that comes up. And they pride themselves on it, and all of a sudden their identity takes shape there. So we bring in AI, and with AI, you have to implement systems. You can't do it in tribal knowledge. You can't do it in spreadsheets, and you can't do it in undocumented processes. They're too random. AI will not work in that environment. So what you got to be able to do, what you have to be able to do is come in and get governance within the organization. And that means the rules of how we operate. Part of that's culture. How do we treat each other to produce results that we get? Which is another way of saying that we really have to now systematize the employee experience and the customer or the client experience. So in order to make that happen, you've got to lay out certain guidelines and you have to follow certain, I'm going to say, strategies of how you run the business. You know, just as an aside, you can go back to the 80s and 90s. Duran and Deming got real popular for quality. We called it in America the Baldrige Award at that time. Very good, very good. I'm sorry that kind of like slipped away. Then all of a sudden, Six Sigma came out and lean startups and all of those concepts. They actually made businesses better, but they made people better too, because the people had to learn. Employees had to learn all that. So all of a sudden, 1999 comes along and we have the web meltdown. But those that thought their way through it, they said, this isn't going to go away. We have to figure out how to acclimate and implement that into our business. If they did, they became real successful. And it was as easy as we just now designed a website and put it up, because not everybody wanted to do that. So now we get to AI, and all of a sudden the whole ball game changes. And there's a lot of learning, but there's so much opportunity.
Yeah, AI has, like, I came up through the ranks of software development and web development. And so I have written more software this year than I have probably in the last 5, and I've written 0 lines of code.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's wild.
It's
like
mind
black
blowing.
magic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I can say, hey, create an agent that will test everything, and create a deployment, and I don't have to do it. I just have to create an account, and sometimes it can do that for me too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm constantly blown away, and this is as dumb as it's going to get. So
Yeah.
what kind of ways do you help people use AI, and what do you think is going to happen in the future about how we can run our businesses more effectively?
Okay, great question. Number one, how do we help people do it? We start slow, we educate them on the concepts. In our offering, though, we also implement, I'm going to call it personal development type of education. How do you make decisions? Out of work, personal life, health. Where are your big obstacles? How do you overcome those obstacles? Because if you have a problem at home, you're going to have a problem at work. You have a problem at work, you're going to have a problem at home. The pace of change is only going to increase. It's not going to decrease. It's, as you said, an offshoot of that is, this is the slowest you're going to see change now in the future. So basically, we go in and we help them understand the concept. We get a use case. We have them heavily involved in the design. We give them freedom to give us all the input they can. We begin creating the agent with them. We put it in place. We test it. We run it. Then we show it. Then we take it out. Up till then, it's kind of quiet. But we go in what we call an AI boot camp. It's a foundational boot camp that lasts 90 days, 120 days. So we build an agent. We show them what it can do. We lay the groundwork for the future. We teach them how to then build an agent, and how the agent can help them increase their competency as a person and the confidence in doing the job. So that's that flywheel of learning. And it's a different mindset. It's a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. I have to be open to change. I have to be open to learning. And I have to be open that I can change my mindset. I can change my habits, my behavior. If I really want to, I'll do that. We show them how to do it. So in putting those things in place, what we want to be able to do then is get those people where they're saying, I don't have the fires. I can now critically think and have emotional intelligence, because we believe they're the 2 core, I'm going to say, human attributes we've got to develop: the mental, emotional aspects, because we don't have a lot of critical thinking in business today. But we got to get that free time that people get from not fighting fires to teach them how to identify and solve a problem. 5 whys. We've already done all of these things, but different perspectives, and think more rationally, how to use emotional intelligence. But I think what's going to happen as this takes over and you build that intelligent business, and that's the basis of it. Basically, what we're going to have is a different business model, where we're going to have people that say, I want to start a business, or I have this great idea, but I don't want to put my house up. I don't want to put collateral up. I don't want to mortgage my children's future, but I really have this great idea. I think you're going to see the concept of businesses within the business take off like that. This is something my brother and I did decades ago with our business. If somebody really had a great idea, they wanted to run with it, if they didn't want to be encumbered by growing, or I should say, putting all their assets up, we became the bank and we said, look, we'll invest in you in doing this. That was all related to our business. It helped it grow. But we had many people that came with their ideas, and we backed them, and they grew and contributed. They got equity. I mean, it really worked out well for them in many respects. That's the concept of business I think we're going to go to.
Yeah, interesting. I also see it's shifting too. Like we have B2C, B2B. We might add B2AI agent, right? I don't know what they would call it, but a lot of people have their agents doing all sorts of things for them that I don't even think of. Like, it'll go buy stuff for them. It'll show up on their porch. So I don't know. That's weird. But it's also very cool at the same time. So before we started recording, you told me you wrote a book. Tell me a little
Yes.
bit about that.
Okay. The book's called The Intelligent Business Equation. And the reason why I wrote the book was because there are many, many millions of people that own a business and they're in their 50s and 60s. And then within the next 10 years, they're going to have to figure out how they're going to get their money out of the business. So what they need to be able to do is sit back and say, I have to forget that idea where I decide I want to sell this year. So I'm going to go to my accountant or a business broker and they'll put it on the market and I'll have it sold within 6 months, a year, whatever it takes. You got about a 30% chance of selling your business today, but it's compounded because of AI. In the past, you could have a really good business, good people, good products, good systems, good standard performance. The whole thing is working real well. I call that an analog business. Today, we got to have a digital focused business, meaning I got to bring AI in, I got to lay it in. So the first thing you need to do to create an intelligent business and be able to transfer it or become sellable. You can actually transfer the ownership to somebody else and do it at a high multiple. There's 5 things you have to do. Number 1, you have to get your accounting systems in place, your business finance systems and everything. You have to know your EBITDA and you have to know how to time it. You have to do all this though in these 5 principles or 5 closes, I call them. You have to do it 2-3 years before you want to sell because you're going to have to show financial statements that prove what you're saying, not just selling my dream. I've already done this. I've built this. This is what I have. And it includes AI. So the first one is business accounting. Your numbers, your metrics, your KPIs and everything have to be in place. You have to go through the EBITDA experience and the whole quality of earnings experience. You got to be prepared for that, contracts in place. The second thing then you do is you got to have all your systems in place. Today, a lot of companies, mid-sized companies, they're people oriented, people dependent, meaning tribal knowledge really runs the business. And if somebody leaves that business, you're hurt. You can't replace them. Their knowledge and know-how and expertise, they leave the business. So that's the second thing you have to address. You got to get your business systems in place so you plug people into the system, not people plug the system into themselves for their own use. Third thing, you start implementing technology because the first one was business and business objectives, the first 2. Third one is AI. I put AI in, and now all of a sudden, I am starting to increase dramatically my productivity. All of a sudden, my people have more free time. They're not as distracted. It's not as many fires to put out. My silos are evaporating. The private information that sales has, they're not releasing to anybody else, and they call that sandbagging. The operations information and data and metrics they have is different than what finance has. So everybody's arguing their own numbers. AI does away with that. We begin learning, we begin scaling. That means you have to rebrand your business now because you are going to scale. And that's the 4th close, and that's what we call context. Your people have to look at business and the work they're doing in a different light. And that leads to the 5th close, and that is I have to be able to really develop my leaders in the future because this is my belief and my belief only. We're not going to do away with all employees. Robots aren't going to run the place. And there's one owner, and that's all there is. We're going to have people that are going to work alongside with the agentic workforce. They're going to make each other intelligent. But I need the people to manage future growth. If you do these 5 things, your business becomes transferable. And then at the same time, you have what's called optionality. And that means I have financial leverage so I can sell if I want to. If I don't want to, I don't. I can transfer it because I've got the people, I've got the leadership in place in the system, the technology. So I can continue to collect dividends my entire life. I can pass it on to family, generational wealth, whatever. If I have to refinance, I've got the exact systems, those 5 systems enable you then to refinance. If I'm going to acquire, I now can acquire and absorb better because I bring them into my system. So all of this is laid out in the book. Why did I do it? There's a lot of people that have businesses, millions of owners. They have to be able to get their money out of the business because the major portion of their money is invested in the business. This book, The Intelligent Business Equation, is a formula you use to be able to guide yourself through all that so you can sell the business, get your money out of the business, and then continue with life as you want.
Nice. I like that. And then you mentioned AI. Like we've been talking about AI the whole time. Are there any areas where you think AI should never be a part of a business?
I don't know if I'd say there's parts that I never think it should be a part of a business, but I think we have an obligation to instill character in our businesses, our people, and our technology so that we are using them with virtue and character. And I know a lot of people look at that and say, oh, that's pretty soft. Well, it's like, I don't know. When someone says to me, I have a dream of building a business, that seems pretty emotional to me too.
Sure.
So I think that we just need to be able to come back and say, we've got to be the people who are going to solve the problems we have. We're going to come together. We're going to become emotionally mature. We're going to critically think so that we don't battle. We don't fight each other. You know, my brother and I had a saying that there are no such things as competitors to us. There's only future partners. And I think that's the way we need to be able to look at some of these things. So I don't think there's an area that AI should never get in. I mean, I think it needs to stay out of the private life, so to speak. We all have that domain and that spark of divinity, if you want to call it that we all need to respect. But I think we determine the quality and the content that AI will do, and we got to put the guardrails in to make sure it doesn't go rogue and off the reservation without us knowing it.
Yeah, I like that. And then another thing too, a lot of people have talked about person-to-person skills, right? Being personable and carrying a conversation. And you mentioned critical thinking in the world of AI. How do people do that when they default to just going to AI? Like, how do you critically think, and how do you maintain good personal relationships when the next generation, they just like to text or whatever?
Yeah. I think it all comes down to your core values, and the core values and the foundation of a business is what's going to determine an awful lot of what we do within an organization. You know, a lot of people in the 90s, 2000s, they started creating these, core values. They'd put them on a piece of paper. They'd put a picture frame on them. They'd hang them in the office entry or, the vestibule or whatever. And that's all the farther they went. They never ran their business or their life according to that. I think all that's going to change. I think they have to do that. And I think they have to be able to make sure that those core values are embedded deeply into everybody. One of the things that we do, an exercise we go through, is we go through an individual's belief systems with them. How closely aligned are they with the company's core beliefs? And every company, whether they say they define them or not, there's 3-4 key things they always come back to. If they're not aligned, you're going to get in trouble. So we work hard to do it because that means the level of increase on adoption will increase itself. So I think that we are headed for some extremely exciting and valuable adventures. We're going to learn, we're going to make mistakes, but we got to pull everybody through it together. And I think those core values are going to be key.
Yeah, I like that. So what do you think is next for your book, or your next book, or for your company GuideWise?
Well, we're looking to expand the GuideWise business and footprint. Ideally, what we want to be able to do is go into organizations, and our target market is mid-sized businesses. We want to be able to go in and be able to say, here's how you create an intelligent business so that you have optionality. If you want to sell, you can. If you don't, you expand, you acquire, you can do all kinds of things. But here's the business systems and the blueprint you put in place. So we want to be able to do that, but we want to be able to build a community around organizations that want to get optionality and financial leverage. We think there's going to be a huge market in that. And what we want to do down the road is we want to be able to help people sell the business if they want to, or come into a collective, if you will, where you have an awful lot of other businesses and they're helping each other grow in a community and relationships. I could see the day where we also have our own, what I'll call agents that, we're putting into organizations. But beyond the agent, the community is the important thing for growth in the future. And that's where we're going to probably end up putting an awful lot of our resources, build that community. Nobody's left behind. Become a part of it, learn how to build optionality into your business and use AI properly, and have a nice life.
I like it. Yeah, I think that face-to-face communication, like not even video conferencing, but face-to-face actual people, I think that's going to be so much more valuable once AI is even more prevalent.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. There's an old saying, high tech, high touch. That's not going
Yep.
away. That's
Yep.
not going away at all.
Yeah. Was there anything that I missed that you'd like to cover, or any last words?
No, I
Final
enjoyed the
thoughts?
conversation very much, Matt. I really, really liked it. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day, and I'm grateful that you wanted to chat with me. I had a really good time chatting with you.
Hmm.
And that was Ted Wolf, co-founder and CEO of GuideWise. And you can grab his book, The Intelligent Business Equation. And if people want to reach out to you or want to find you, where can they find you?
They can go to the website, guidewise.ai. They can email me directly, TED, at guidewise.ai. Or they can go on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. Ted Wolf 2 is my URL links.
All right. Love it. Once again, thanks so much. And this has been another episode of the Operating System Show.
Thank you very much, Matt.